This is the Bottom Line Sports Show with Gerald Brown and Rick Mahorn.
Imagine you trade a Chet Holmgren for a Giannis Antetokounmpo.
These guys are athletic as you know what, and you go like, oh my gosh, where's the fundamentals? Where's the pass first mentality? That's not in the league anymore.
And now here's your host, Gerald Brown and Rick Mahorn.
You see him, he's back. NBA champion, Detroit Piston, Big Three head coach.
Hold on. If you're gonna give them all lists, this is what you give them, G.
Hamptonian, right?
Nah. You give them. We have Hall of Fame, Hamptonian, this and that. But here's the big thing, man. You know, I won a couple of chips with the WNBA. One overseas. You come on, man.
Well, you know
I won a Euro Cup. What else did I win? Championship, Big Three championship. What? You just get it. My resume is vast, but you know what, G? Yours is even better.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that. And you know what?
One last thing. Happy, hot dog day.
Let's bring on our guests. We talk about champions. See, this is where I talk about when we have guests on, you don't know how to act. This gentleman knows a thing or two about championships. He's got three of them. And again,
what's that got to do with anything? Somebody else got three too.
No, but he got three of them, and he did it in New York City. And that's the biggest thing is, you know what? Legendary. World Series champion 3 times. Mr. Jim Leyritz, come on in.
What's up, Jim?
Gentlemen, how we doing, guys?
Hey, man. Doing fine, Jim.
Hey, Jim, I rooted for you because, I couldn't root for the Red Sox. I was a Yankees fan. I've been a Yankees fan for a long time. So you know what? This ain't nothing but love and life for me.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, now give me my money though when you lost a couple of them World Series too.
Well, you know what? The only time I lost, I was on the San Diego Padres.
Well, I want that money too. It's good to see you.
But I lost to the New York Yankees, so I lost to my best friend, so it wasn't so bad.
Oh, man. Jim, thanks so much.
Oh, man. Wait a minute. But hold on. So you lost to your best friend, right?
Yep.
Okay, this is my question, Gerald. I'm sorry to throw you off track.
Go ahead.
When you playing against your best friend, like I'm gonna let me give you the situation. I'm playing with Charles Barkley. We in Philly, and I was like, okay. I just left the Pistons, and I was on the Philadelphia 76ers. So we're in the playoffs. We beat Washington. We beat the team in front of us. Now it was on our time to play the Chicago Bulls. And if we beat them, we're going to play the Pistons. And I wanted a piece of the Pistons. But I asked Charles, I said, yo, Charlie, you gotta hit Jordan. And you know what he told me? That's my damn friend. And now look, Jim. You already just said you lost to one of your best friends, right?
Yeah.
When you playing against your best friends, don't you want to kick their ass?
Absolutely. The funny thing was I was Andy Pettit's personal catcher in 95 and 96.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to face him in 98 against the Padres. And I saw him before the game, and I said, dude, I know every pitch that's coming because I used to call it all the time.
Uh-huh.
So you ain't going to fool me.
But see, this is what I'm missing about sports today. It's like this kumbaya moment. Oh, way to kick my ass. I'm done with that. I don't even
No.
I'm coaching in the Big Three, and I'm like, I ain't shaking Michael Cooper's hand. I ain't shaking Lancey Lieberman's hand. They're friends, but you just kicked my butt. I ain't trying to deal with that. What's going on?
Rick, you're talking about our time, our old school time. It ain't like that anymore. When the Knicks were playing this year, I reached out to Karl Anthony Towns and I said, you need to do a Kobe Bryant on Paul Gasol. In this situation, after what they did to Brunson and what Wemby did to Bronson, I said you need to come out the very first play of the game, set a pick, and just take Wemby out. Just if you remember, Kobe did that during the Olympics to Gasol.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I was just like, we need a Kobe moment right here, but it never happened. Never happened.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Gerald. My bad. I just
No, 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 that's
I
fine.
had to get that off my chest
Hey,
because
listen.
because Gerald never played professional sports.
Hey,
All he
there
did
you
was
go.
grab the towels and get a guy's Gatorade and stuff.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah, yeah.
I never miss up my words. I know you are the champion. You guys are champions. Jim, really appreciate you joining us. I've got to ask you this because again, the similarities with baseball, football, and basketball. With with football and basketball, really have their drafts, and you have guys come in to basically the professional leagues, and then they go right to those respective professional teams. Do you think we will ever, or how close do you think we are from seeing perhaps a young man, which the Major League Baseball just had their draft last week, that we'll see a guy that will go specifically from the draft right to the big team?
Well, what they're discussing, because we have a possibility of a strike this
Uh,
year, right? Which it better never happen because there's too much money in baseball right now for that to happen. But they're talking about changing the draft to where they won't be drafting high school players anymore. That you have to be at least out of high school for 2 years before you can get drafted. And I think possibly that's when you may see some kid 2 years later after high school come straight out and go right into the major leagues. But it doesn't happen too often. Dave Winfield was probably the last guy that was able to do that. Uh, so that's really the hard thing about baseball is that when you get drafted, you're not guaranteed going to the big leagues. You got to earn that right, and that's why it's a little bit more difficult to make. But if they change those draft rules, that might actually start happening a little bit more.
yeah.
Well, being in the NBA and back then, I mean, Spencer Haywood had to sue the NBA and professional leagues and to get to come in as a teenager. But I look at this, and football is still the same. You have to go, those years. I personally miss the fundamental side. Is
Yeah.
that what you see what the league is trying to go back to to go back and make these young men or these young players from the women to the men, it doesn't matter, to learn how to mature a
Yeah.
little bit more?
I think so. I think, listen, I would never accuse baseball of doing the right thing. but I would say that, what they're trying to do in this particular situation, I do think it's a good thing. I do because I would have to say, and I don't know the actual numbers, but as far as high school kids actually making it, I can say it's probably below 50%.
Wow.
Mm.
you know. And so I think it'll be good for these kids to be able to go get an education, live on their own for a couple years, because the minor leagues, man, it is hell. It is hell. Bus rides, staying in these cheap hotels, it's a grind, and there's not a lot of guys that, like I always said, there's a lot of guys that have a lot of ability that never make it because they can't deal with the grind that it takes to get there.
So when you say a lot of times with today's athlete, we're looking at this NIL stuff.
Yeah.
So you talking, I understand what you're saying. It's a grind, but shoot, if I'm going to stay in college and make $10 million a year,
Yeah.
I ain't coming in there. Forget that. I'm gonna make my money, and hopefully I put this in some great funds and make some money. But this is for me as being in you as well, and I'm not speaking for you, but having this grind and not really having the aspirations of becoming that player. Is that do you miss that?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I mean, listen, I think the NIL is great. I think it's great that these players are getting paid. I think it's a little bit out of hand right now. They're going to have to come to some type of an agreement where the money gets separated a little bit better amongst everybody. But the bottom line is, um, this transfer portal
Mm.
is the death to college sports because I'm praying to God that what I'm hearing is true, that they're going to go back to if you get one transfer
in 5 years.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and after that, you have to sit out that year. And I think that would help. Uh, it would make things a little bit easier. But like you just said, Rick, bottom line is these guys are making more money than they're ever going to make in the minor leagues or in the D leagues. And why not stay in college for an extra year and just collect that NIL money?
Makes a lot of sense. Jim, what are your thoughts on the current Yankees team? And obviously, as they roll into the second half of the season, they've been hit by a lot of injuries to a lot of their key guys and stuff. But they still has a lot of young talent be able to step up and really perform. What do you think of this team, and what do you think their chances in the second half of the season?
Well, I was watching the All Star game the last 2 days, and A-Rod and Jeter came on to talk about that. And it was actually kind of a funny segment because A-Rod, well, listen, all they have to do is get Judge healthy, get Giancarlo healthy, make 2 trades for a third baseman and a catcher and an outfielder, and shore up the bullpen. Yeah, they don't have too much to do to get there.
Hey, Jim, here's my question. You know, rules.
Yeah,
And this is, like from when we played and as this game of ours, the national pastime of America, as the rules, do you like them? Do you like them, or do you want them to go back to a few of the rules back in the day?
you know what, Rick? The bottom line is, Gerald, the bottom line is sabermetrics has ruined this game.
Oh,
Don't even get me
Sabermetrics,
started.
oh God, and,
uh,
and basketball too.
Analytics,
Preach,
analytics.
analytics have
preach.
killed. And thank God there wasn't analytics in my day, because if you look at my month of September before the playoffs, I would have never played in a playoff game.
Wow.
And you think about that, not only did I help change the history of the Yankees being in the postseason, but also the San Diego Padres. And you would have never played me in the sabermetric era. And, it's just things like that I go, it's one thing that baseball, 162 games, you can kind of predict the outcome and you can control certain things. But when you get to a postseason, Rick, you know this, you've been in championship games. There is no way you can judge someone's guts, someone's grit, and someone's heart. That you just can't judge that. And that's where I think the game is lost. That's where I think the Yankees are in trouble, because the bottom line is they win 90 games every year. They're in the playoffs, but they have a coaching staff that not one player besides Aaron Boone, Brad Ausmus too, but every other guy on that coaching staff has never been in the postseason, has never played for the New York Yankees. When I played during our run that we had during the 90s, we
Mm-hmm.
had Chris Chambliss, we had Mel
Ooh.
Stoudemire, Don Zimmer, Joe Torre. I mean, we had guys that were in the battle. These guys, the reason they can't win in the postseason is because their coaching staff can't help them understand what they're going to be going through. And I think until they make some changes there, we're going to see this same cycle happen over and over again.
Well, give me a high five on that. I mean, it's like, listen, and Gerald, we see it because, between watching games, this analytics is like, where did they come up with this bullshit?
Yep.
It's like, what is it? um, it's like a guessing game. Well, analytically, and this is when I laugh at people say, "Oh, you couldn't play in this time." I tell them, you couldn't play in this era. I tell them you couldn't play in my era, because if you had to
Exactly.
do all the stuff you doing, excuse my French, all the shit you doing
Yeah.
analytically, I'm gonna kick your ass because I got it here. I got
Yep.
it here, but I
Yep.
got it right here. Where you know what, you better come with it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, we saw that this year with Brunson. You know what? That guy, he made himself into a name here in New York just
Hmm.
because of his guts and his grit that he played with. And we just found out, I think a couple weeks ago, that he did all this with a bad shooting hand,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and he's had surgery on it. And I'm actually pretty close with Carl Anthony Towns because we both are Kentucky boys. And when Carl got traded October 3rd, 2024, he was in Yankee Stadium October 8th in his suite. And I walked into the suite and I see him and I'm like, no way. I go, what's up, dude? He goes, I can't believe you just walked in. He goes, look at the hat that I have on. He goes, my dad's a huge Yankee fan, and he told me to pick a hat that I wanted to wear, and I knew that you were on the 96 team, so I wore the 96 World Series hat, and he took it off. I said, let me sign that for you. I signed it, and I said, when you guys win a championship, you owe me a jersey. So when I saw him at the parade this year, I said, dude, you owe me a jersey. So, yeah, yeah.
That is really amazing. And Jim, I won't hold it against you. Louisville Cardinal fan.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Hey, forget both of y'all. Forget both of y'all. You got to go to Hampton, baby. You see that pirate,
Oh,
baby.
okay,
There you
You
go.
got to go to the old Negro League for that.
Jim, you bring up a great point, and that is something where you were pivotal on these Yankee championship teams and stuff like that. Even the 1995 and hitting the home run against the Seattle Mariners and an epic, return to the playoffs for the Yankees. And we just witnessed the Knicks winning a championship for the first time in 53 years. What were your thoughts on when the Knicks won that championship? What came to your mind?
Well, it's funny when OG tipped the ball in to win the game, game 4 it was, Sid Rosenberg and Craig Carton have radio shows here in New York. And I called both of them up and I said, dude, if they win this championship, OG will be the next Jim Leyritz. Because
Wow.
at age 62, they
Wow.
still invite me back to Yankee Stadium to sign autographs of the home run picture from the 96 World Series that changed everything. I told OG when I saw him at the parade, I said, dude, when you're 62, you're going to be invited back to New York to sign that tip in because that will live in history for the rest of your life. And that was a pretty cool moment. I enjoyed the whole run. I went to the parade. It was really cool because I had been in 2 parades myself, but from a fan's perspective, dude, I had so much fun watching these guys celebrate because honestly, it reminded me a lot of our 95, 96. Because in 95, we get to the playoffs. I hit the big home run. We think we have the series won. We end up losing the series. The home run became a footnote. And that team, Buck Showalter gets fired. Joe Torre comes in, takes over. He wins the 96 World Series. It's the same thing that happened with Thibodeau and Mike Brown. It's the exact same thing.
Mm.
And for the Knicks to go on and win that championship, it was so much fun to watch. And the city of New York just came together. And there's nothing like it when you can get something like that to happen.
Yeah, don't throw out the fact. Don't leave out, I should say, the fact is at 96, you had the monster home run in Atlanta and stuff to really tie that game up or so, and Fulton County Stadium with that. My follow-up question is, playing in New York is not for everybody, right? You got to be thick-skinned and tough, and we've seen a lot of players and stuff like that. What did it take to win a championship in New York? And then at the same time, my 2-part question, the second part is, what did it take for you to be able to excel and be able to feel comfortable to excel, not one, but numerous times, which led to those championships?
I'll give you 2 reasons. My dad and Pete Rose.
Wow.
The first one was my dad. And it was really funny. When I first got called up in 1990, George was in the middle of getting suspended. I was one of the first young kids called up. They weren't. Gene Michael was going to rebuild the Yankees from within, and they called me into the office, and I'm sitting there with Mr. Steinbrenner, and he's like, you know what, Jim? He goes, if you get off to a good start, you're going to open up the door for a lot of your minor league teammates that we've never given the opportunity to. So do you think you can handle this pressure? And I said, Mr. Steinbrenner, I grew up with a father who was a cross between Woody Hayes and Bobby Knight.
Mm. Damn.
I got this.
Mm.
And I did. I really thrived being in New York. I took the subway to every game. I was a true New York. I lived in the city. It was thing. But then, the advice that Pete Rose gave me, because I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up with the Big Red Machine. I used to be a bat boy with Tommy Brenneman at spring training with the Reds. And I used to stay at the team hotel. I got to meet all the players. And Pete Rose, one time as a 13-year-old kid, I said to him in the lobby of the hotel, I said, Pete, can I just ask you a question? How are you so good in big moments in the clutch? And he said, Jimmy, you want to know why? Because right now we're in spring training. And that pitcher is 60 feet, 6 inches from me. And guess what? On opening day, that pitcher is still 60 feet, 6 inches from me. And when I get to the playoffs, he's still 60 feet, 6 inches. And when I get to the World Series, he's 60 feet, 6 inches. So you know what taught me? If I don't get caught up in what's going on around me and I concentrate what I have to concentrate, I will never get caught up in the moment. And I took
Wow.
that to heart as a 13-year-old kid. I said, you know what? That's it. And my father used to remind me all the time, Jimmy, because I was a basketball player too. Honestly, Rick, I grew up in Cincinnati. I wore number 33. I wanted to be Larry Bird. And I
Where's
had
my
a
button?
scholarship to Indiana State to play
My d-
basketball.
where my damn button at? I ain't got time
Be
to listen to this.
kind. Be
I'm already choking off the Knicks stuff. So now I'm listening to this bull. I don't want to hear that. Hey,
But
hey, go
but
ahead.
so here's the funny thing. So I was going to go to college playing basketball. So I didn't end up doing it. I ended up playing baseball because I had a better chance of going pro doing that. And then I went to Kentucky, and in my class was Kenny Walker. Sky Walker was in my class
Wow.
in
Wow.
1985,
Wow.
right? And we're sitting there in class one day, and I told him my story, and he goes, "Well, why don't you come out and work with us? Well, come and do a workout with us." So, Rick, I put on the shorts, I put on the tennis shoes. I went out and scrimmaged with him one day.
Hmm.
And I just thank the good Lord I kept hitting the baseball because I got no chance. I was a 5'10" guard with a 6'6" guard guarding me.
Nah, that's a different world. Same with me.
Yeah.
You said your career, you played baseball. I started my career playing football. That's the way I
Okay.
played in the game because I wanted to whoop somebody's ass. That's all I wanted to do. But Jim, and I gotta leave. Man, I want to be on here for a good while, but Jim, thank you for all the memories of the Yankees and the Red Sox. But here's the thing: what about did you have a little bit more when you played against the Red Sox?
Well, the funny thing was I was actually a Red Sox in 1998. I started the season with them, but I didn't like it there, and I got traded to the Padres and ended up going to the World Series. But you know what? It was earlier before 1996. I came
Hmm.
up in 1990. Between 90 and 96, things started to change.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, it was, from 90 to 95, if I saw a Red Sox in a bar, we were fighting. We were fighting.
That's what I'm talking. The same
Yeah,
here with the Bulls in the damn Celtics. I hate them.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
hated them. You hate it
Rick,
was
be
like
kind, Rick. Be
it
kind.
was
What you
no
doing?
be oh you telling me to be kind. I'd be like kind to whoop their ass. That's what I wanted to do. But
That's what I
Jim,
said. There,
But
there
Jim,
was there was no way.
hang
There was
tight,
no
Jim.
way.
Hang
But
tight. Rick's got to leave, but hang tight. We still want to just close it out with you and stuff like that.
okay.
Rick, I know you
hey,
got practice and stuff like that. I'm
yeah.
going to talk to you real soon.
All right. Well, Jim, much love and respect. I don't care if you wanted to be like Larry Bird, but I'd have kicked his ass too. All right, take care. Love you, G. Love y'all.
No, thanks, Rick. Great seeing you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Rick. Yeah, Jim, thank you so much. Real quick
I knew that would piss him off when I told him that story.
But see, I used to be a ball boy for the New York Knicks,
Oh,
and
you're muted.
I was there with Kenny Walker, Patrick Ewing, all those guys, and so Sky Walker was just on the show.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
I can hear you. We'll get Jim back on there, having a good time here. Great conversation stuff. We'll get him back on in the midst of all of this. Some just great insight on just all the stuff that's going on and just telling the story. I think it's really fascinating to have a player of that caliber talk about really just the whole dynamic of playing and winning in New York. And look, I'll be honest with you, not everybody can win in New York City and play in New York. It is a lot. It can be a lot for a lot of people and stuff like that. And we'll get Jim back on here, and Jim is back here right now, joining back here. So, Jim, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great, great. So I was sharing with you, I used to be a New York Knicks ball boy many a years, and one of the guys who I grew up with, who called so-called brothers, was Kenny Scott Walker. And Scott was just on the show probably about 3 weeks ago, just really reflecting on this championship and stuff. But, really, really appreciate your time. Just a couple more quick questions before I let you get on out of here. And you really touched a lot on this in terms of just obviously, I want to go back to just baseball as a whole. When you look and you said something in regards that really struck a chord with me is, look, Major League Baseball, and kudos to Rob Manfred. I think they've done a great job, redesigning the game somewhat to this generation and introducing it. But we're dealing with possibly a work stoppage. And we've seen a lot of things. I thought free agency this past year, off season, really, really kind of, gave us an indication that there's going to be some changes that takes place. Jim, from a player's perspective, I never go against the players because obviously we always side with the owners, and we don't know why. We're just told to side with the owners because the players are greedy. But just as a whole, how detrimental would this be to the sport if they had a work stoppage at this time and place right now?
I think the 94 strike that I was part of, that was a necessity because, we knew that there was going to be so much money coming into the game that we needed to have a fair revenue share. And our union leaders were so smart. They were so far ahead of anything that we knew. I mean, at that time, the leading player was making $9 million a year, Frank Thomas. And they were telling us guys are going to make $20 million one day. And we never thought that would happen. And we see now. But right now, Gerald, you cannot have a strike when players are making $50 million a year. It's just the game is going too well. The game is going internationally. The satellites that are going up in Dubai and all these India and all these different places where they're making all kinds of money. They need to come to an agreement. They need to do fair revenue sharing, and they just need to make it a win-win for everybody. They cannot have a work stoppage, and no one, the players or the union. The players and the union or the owners, I pray to God, are not too greedy to a point where there is a work stoppage, because it would kill the game. It would kill the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the fact is look, baseball has been very fortunate to be in a space where, look, they added the extra playoff team, which we knew you want to get big market teams in there. But you know what? You've had 2 World Series that actually worked out well, where you had the Yankees and Dodgers a couple years ago, and then last year you had an international World Series, Dodgers and Blue Jays. They really need to hit a home run with this and just really try to resolve this. Before I let you get on out of here, what do you think the Yankees will need to do in this second half, minus the trades and stuff like that, to be able to get to the World Series and win? I'm going to the Dodgers game on Saturday. I'm going to the Dodgers and Yankees game.
I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah, I'm working all weekend. So, but yeah, you know what? Listen, it's going to be tough. I mean, the pitching staff is grade A. Right now, our pitching staff is so good. Max Fried is going to be coming back the second half. Garrett Cole's been looking good. They got to get run down healthy, hopefully. But Cam Schittler, he's just been unbelievable. Pitching is not going to be a problem. Our problem is the bats and the health. And that right now has to improve. And we got to hope that, like I said, Stanton comes back, Judge comes back. And once you get those 2 guys back in the lineup, I think things will start evening out a little bit better. I think we'll have a better opportunity. But Gerald, I think there's going to be a trade. We need a third baseman or a catcher that can hit. And those are our biggest glaring holes that we have right now. And, I thought Austin Wells was going to be the answer 2 years ago. And he has just gone so far backwards that he could be a Gold Glover defensively. He can't hit himself out of a paper bag right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been sad to watch because I actually like the kid, and I was really rooting for him, but it's been really, really tough to watch this year.
Yeah, I think also too, and agree or disagree, seems like they're just too left-handed. It doesn't seem like it's really a balanced lineup. Really, a lot of lefties, and you're right. I think clearly, in the midst of all of this, like and every negative is a positive. I think the fact is you're getting a chance to see kids like Jason Dominguez getting an opportunity because. Again, no disrespect to Giancarlo Stanton. It's just really a log jam there in that outfield in terms of being able to maneuver because of Stanton that primarily he has to be your DH. But, again, if they can make some moves to change some things around, I just don't want them to give up a lot of the young pieces that they have that's on the horizon because it's going to shift pretty soon. And I don't believe in this whole thing about going to get Scooble and knowing what they went through with Juan Soto and Scott Boras and stuff and how that'll play out. But I think
I think the bottom line is I think Judge is an important key to come back. I don't think Stanton as much because right now, to be honest with you, Paul Goldschmidt and Ben Rice together is a pretty good pair right now. Yeah. Even though I know Goldschmidt just went 0 for 40 something and had a bad streak there for a while, but his bat and Ben Rice in the lineup together, when Stanton comes back, one of those guys has to sit. And it's not going to be Ben Rice.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those things that the biggest key is getting Judge back and then making a trade for either a third baseman or a catcher that can hit like 270, 280 and put the ball in play and play some good defense. So I think that's going to be a bigger need for the Yankees down the stretch than anything.
Yeah, but playing in New York is tough, Jim, and you know that. I mean, it is, and especially in the postseason. I mean, it is tough, and like you said, and again, I grew up in New York, living here in New Jersey right now, and understanding the fact is that not everybody can play in New York.
True.
You have players like yourself that was able to not only play in New York but excel. That says a lot because again, you see, we've seen players play out in different cities and stuff. It's something different when you put on those pinstripes and play in New York. And
I tell people, Gerald, all the time. I said, you know what? I went to a World Series with the Padres. I won 3 World Series with the Yankees. There's nothing like winning in New York.
Yes.
It never goes away. It's something that no one can ever take from you. And I like I said, talking to some of the Knicks guys, I just told them, enjoy this moment, guys, because you will have this the rest of your life as something that you can cherish. And like I said, there's no better fans, there's no better place to win than New York.
Yeah, it definitely is the case. Listen, Jim, really, really appreciate the time. It was a blast. We got to do this again.
Anytime.
You know what? And definitely be reaching out to you, especially when Rick and I are on Sirius XM and stuff like that, talking some Major League Baseball as well as basketball. But listen, big fan of what you are now in terms of all that you stand for, but more importantly, what you did on that baseball field, and salute you, man. And obviously, congratulations on all the things that you have going on. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we definitely look forward to talking down the line.
All right, Gerald. Thanks so much. Just reach out anytime you need me.
It's my pleasure. Legend.
Thank you.
Anytime. He is a legend. Let you know it right off the bat. He is a legend. Mr. Jim Leyritz joining me here on the Bottom Line Sports Show. And I tell you this, man, it really says a lot when you can have a guy come on and just really, really perform. And give him a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. Definitely deserve that. Mr. Jim Leyritz, man. Not everybody can play in New York. Not everybody. So this is where, again, everybody's saying we want Scooble, we want this, we want that. You got to be careful what you ask for because not everybody can play here because the expectation never changes. It's win. And Jim Leyritz did it. Did it. Okay, 95. I watched the home run. He hit off of Tim Belcher for them to win. I remember watching them go to the King Dome and King Griffey Jr. scoring. Edgar Martinez could not be stopped. I remember when they got in the World Series, when the playoffs in 95, in those specific games, it just felt like the roof was going to come off of Yankee Stadium. It was going to come off. And then 96, it hit the big home run. Real stars do a lot of real things. But nevertheless, great insight from Mr. Jim Leyritz and stuff as well. So, I got this whole thing about, staying with Major League Baseball before I get on out of here. So many people are saying Major League Baseball, they need changes. They got some issues and all this different stuff. Well, let me just be clear for you. Major League Baseball and the All-Star Game as a whole, it's not for us. It's a game actually put on for Major League Baseball's partners. They're business partners. Netflix, Fox, so they can be able to make money, sell advertising, and they put on a show. So just in case if Fox doesn't have the World Series, well, we'll have this All-Star Game. Oh, yeah. Same thing. All-Star games in the middle of a season is not for the fans. It is for the partners. Because if it was really for the fans, why would you play an All-Star game in the middle of a 162-game season? Doesn't make sense. Somebody gets hurt, you lose your best player. Junior Caminero gave a Tampa Bay Rays fan a big scare. So we have to understand that. But still, these guys don't want to play. And look, I'm not mad at them because unlike the NBA All-Star Game, you still have a breath of fresh air with younger players coming up. Could you affect it where if a guy is named to the All-Star Game, he doesn't have to pitch the Sunday before the All-Star Game? Again, winning the games is the most important thing. And having an exhibition game in the middle of the season is counterproductive. But they've been able to do it this long, and they'll continue to do it again. I want to switch gears and talk about this whole narrative with this NBA Summer League. And look, AJ DeBonsta has not disappointed. I'm calling him AJ the Monster. DA Monster. The Monster. That's what I'm calling him. Because he's put on and showed out. Now, one of the things that I will say that I like the fact is that, look, Sacramento Kings, shout out to them. Because they're one of the few teams that I've been monitoring. And they've been playing a lot of their second-year players, first-year players, second-year players. And I remember I looked at this and I said, hey, why not have more teams play a lot of their younger players that are 1 year, 2 years in the league to get the experience to help them moving forward? And a lot of people will say, oh, you don't want guys to get hurt and all this other stuff, but you can get hurt working out with the trainer. I would think it would make more sense if teams had their first, second, even third-year players playing, that this would be such a competitive run for 2 weeks for you to really thoroughly evaluate players' development, their performance, that you get a real good assessment of how a player is evolving, as opposed to them playing against guys that obviously probably won't make an NBA team, as well as guys that will be over in Europe. So I applaud the Sacramento Kings for playing their guys, because now you know, in a sense, kind of what you got in terms of growth and development. Like having guys go into the gym and work out and stuff, yeah, that's good. Well, what could be better than having guys go through practice, right? Instructional practice, you're running games, and now they're continuing their development, especially if you were on a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. So now you get a true assessment of how a guy's growth and development. That's an idea I would love to see more teams do for the Summer League and really have it become what it is supposed to be. Summer Development League, Summer League. I think it would make a lot of sense. Look, this Clippers investigation, I think it's coming to an end. I think it's really going to have a spot where ultimately, don't be surprised if the Los Angeles Clippers are penalized, will pay a fine, have to give some draft picks away. Some people will say that's why they were accumulating all these draft picks, but they'll give some draft picks and be able to move on, right? Be able to move on. Clippers are in a market, a major media market. The Clippers and the Lakers. You don't want to see anything happen, but I won't be surprised if this outcome is one that they'll be fined, draft picks taken away, and then lo and behold, you will have Kawhi Leonard formally being traded to the Toronto Raptors. That about wraps up the show. I'd like to thank Jim Leyritz, 3-time Yankees World Series champion, joining me, Rick Mahorn. As you see, we on the go here with the Bottom Line Sports Show. Enjoy the rest of this summer. We'll be back doing a lot of things. Going to take up probably a little breather here and there, but you just never know. Bottom Line Sports Show is out. Have a good one. And if you live in the tri-state area, welcome to the World Cup, the traffic that's coming for the final.